Episode 72 of Unentitled Sports is live. We are here to bring you all of the fun information that is coming this summer. We are very early in the dog days of the sports calendar, where we are left with just regular season MLB baseball, and it'll be that way for a while until I believe it starts with football, and we're very excited to bring you all of that coverage when we get it. But for now...
Lots of MLS to keep us entertained as well.
Yes, of course. We have Inter-Miami games going on, which will be great. But outside of that, we do have a lot of news that has happened, and it's mainly to do with the NBA offseason and the conclusion of the NBA season. And we're also heading towards free agency. The NBA draft also just happened. So we're going to cover a couple important things that relate to this podcast and what everybody, if you're an Unentitled Sports listener, what you should be aware of and what you need to know. And number one, let's just hop right into it. It would be the Boston Celtics and what happened to them this offseason. Ryan, you kind of predicted this and what was going to need to happen for the Celtics to continue on given their cap situation.
Yeah, the short version of the short version of the story is that they got 49ers. They took a look at that payroll, which was, I think, around $400 or $500 million, including all that luxury tax they're paying. And they said there's no reason for us to have this inflated payroll and be in the second apron if Jason Tatum's not playing next year. And so I saw some math, and it was basically like for every dollar of salary they got rid of, they saved like $2.50. And so in these two big trades that they made that we're about to tell you about, they only cut, $75 million in salary, but saved like $250 million when you include the taxes. So the first big trade that they made, they sent Drew Holiday back to the Portland Trail Blazers in exchange for Anthony Simons. And I think there might have been some other minor pieces or draft pieces involved, but that's more or less what you need to know from the trade. Drew Holiday, for now, is a Portland Trail Blazer, and Anthony Simons, for now, is a Boston Celtic. I've been seeing some tweets and some social medias and some whatnots that both of those players could end up getting moved once again, but as things stand, Drew Holiday is a Blazer and Anthony Simons is a Celtic. And then Kristaps Porzingis got sent to the Atlanta Hawks in a 3-team deal where the Celtics got back Georges Niang, and the Brooklyn Nets got involved, and they were able to get Terrence Mann out of it, and there were some draft picks moved around as well. But yeah, so the Celtics, again, they got 49ers. They took a look at their payroll and decided, yeah, we don't need Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis that bad, especially when Jason Tatum's not going to be playing. So they made moves to really shed their payroll, and it looks like the Celtics kind of see the writing on the wall for this upcoming season.
I mean, without Drew Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis, I think the Celtics are very fallible. This team is not going to be the top of the NBA like they were going into last year, and just defensively right off the bat, like Drew Holiday was at least one of the best wing defenders in the NBA, and Kristaps Porzingis is one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. So you go from that, obviously you still have good defensive pieces. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both very good defensive players, but you kind of lose a lot of your defense by losing those two players, and that's incredibly important, especially when it comes to the NBA playoffs. Drew Holiday steps up in the playoffs. We've seen it happen multiple times.
Playoff riser.
So not going to have him anymore, which is a tough loss for them. But you mentioned how Drew went to Portland, and you said, okay, for now, right? Like they're going to eventually move on from Drew Holiday in theory, because why would they have Drew Holiday on their team? Like they're the Portland Trail Blazers. They're not going to win anything this year. Why would you have an aging, player who is very valuable to a team that would probably be wanting to go on a playoff run? Well, we thought the exact same thing about DeAndre Ayton when they acquired him. I felt like that was a move that they would eventually move on from DeAndre Ayton and not be like trying to build around him.
Yeah.
But we just saw also in this offseason, DeAndre Ayton's contract just got bought out, and he's now a free agent. And they lost him for absolutely nothing. So like we've seen the Trailblazers do things that are dumber than keeping Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
And getting rid of Anthony Simons was like kind of a shocking thing in my own mind, because Simons to me was like a good tank captain. Like he's good.
And he's young too.
He's young. He's a very exciting player to watch. Like he's kind of like Jordan Poole, just because he's not good at defense, but he's just can go crazy on offense in certain stretches. So losing him is like, what is going on here? Like,
I think in getting rid of him, you can at least justify it by, saying, okay, well that's more minutes we can give to Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's good, like planning for the future, and I guess that they're saying, hey, our future is not through Anthony Simons. Our future would more likely be through Sharpe or Henderson. Well, they really need to step up, and maybe the thought process that leads them to the dumb decision of keeping Drew Holiday this offseason, which I don't doubt that they will, would be saying we need Scoot Henderson to get better at defense.
Yeah,
let's
need a mentor.
Have Drew Holiday be a mentor for our young guards. But I can tell you right now, the Portland Trailblazers are going to suck next year.
Yeah, well, and it's the Portland Trailblazers. There are other teams that could get a lot more use out of Drew Holiday's services than the Portland Trailblazers. And the Trailblazers might wait to deal him at the deadline. They might be saying, hey, there's a world where we can get more back for him at the deadline, because teams will have a better idea of who's competing and who's not, and the competing teams will know they're competing and therefore be maybe willing to pony up a little bit more for Drew Holiday. So I think it's a foregone conclusion that by February, Drew Holiday will not be on the Blazers. But whether or not he gets moved again this offseason, I don't think that's necessarily a given. Let's take
I agree.
Thank you. Another big move that's happened so far. There's been a flurry of trades and free agency hasn't even started yet. But another big one is our boy Jordan Poole got sent to the Pelicans for CJ McCollum. And when I saw that, it sort of triggered my PTSD of from the last time Jordan Poole got traded. Jordan Poole is a real deep cut, a real throwback for our day one listeners. And our Talking Ball era.
Oh yeah, Jordan Poole ruled Talking Balls.
Yeah, Jordan Poole was, he was my favorite player when we launched this podcast, and he was a big reason that I got as into what I'm doing as I did. So it's exciting to see Jordan Poole on the move. I hope not even that like Washington, not like obviously. Playing for Washington didn't work out as well as playing for Golden State did, but like I think a lot of people think like, oh, Jordan Poole's career fell apart in Washington. No, it's not true. He got 20 points a game last year.
Yeah.
Like Jordan Poole is still like
he was their best player, probably.
Yeah,
right?
probably. I think so. As someone who didn't really watch many Wizards games.
Yeah, I can't say I did much of that either.
Which I'm not sorry about. But yeah, Jordan Poole is still, at least offensively or scoring wise, he's still a good basketball player. And hopefully he can be more successful in New Orleans because I'm still a Jordan Poole fan. And I'm hoping this change of scenery works out for him. And I'm hoping that, there's something about playing for the Pelicans that really gets the best out of Poole, And granted, this Pelicans team has been way worse than the sum of its parts for a long time now. But they, that Pelican team has Zion Williamson, has DeJounte Murray coming off of a pretty bad injury, admittedly. They have Trey Murphy, who very quietly had like a most improved player type of campaign. They have Herb Jones. It's like there are some pieces in New Orleans. In the Western Conference, it's probably not going to be enough to get your hopes up, but there is talent around Jordan Poole, and I think more talent than there was in Washington. So hopefully that can get the best out of Poole. Yeah,
we've seen the last time Jordan Poole was on a talented team, he played pretty well. I mean, obviously his last season with the Warriors wasn't nearly as good as the championship season. Defensively, he was really bad, and offensively, he took a big step back. But then he goes to a team where it's like, all right, you are going to have all the opportunity to, play as much offense as you want and not really worry about defense because we're not really trying to win that many games. So maybe he's improved. He's theoretically coming into his prime about now. He's still a young player. And I don't know. I mean, I look at the Portland Trailblazers, the New Orleans, what the fuck?
Saints?
Yeah, I was about to say Saints. New Orleans Pelicans, and they outside of Jordan Poole, it's a solid team. I think that they actually get better by adding Jordan Poole for CJ McCollum. So I think this team is a little bit better than it was last year. And if they end up getting the best version of Jordan Poole, and that could be the case, just based on the fit, we've seen him be awesome, then I think that it could be a great move for them. Yeah. If I'm in the Pelican spot, we need, to make a big move, a big splash, you might say. I was going to make another Poole reference, but I can't. So we're going to leave it at splash. And adding Jordan Poole can be a big mix-up that might get other players going. What does Zion Williamson look like with Jordan Poole as his point guard?
Can Jordan Poole be the one who finally unlocks Zion Williamson?
Who knows, man?
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Someone's got to do it, right? It's that, or you go and get aging Chris Paul and try to see if that works.
Yeah, Chris Paul's long-awaited return to New Orleans.
Yes, exactly. So, so I think it's a good thing for Poole. Obviously, going from
getting out of Washington,
horrible team that you're never going to win anything to a team that, hey, they've got pieces. They could end up doing something.
The Pelicans sneak into the play-in once every other year, and they didn't last year, so you think they're due.
As a Warriors fan, we get to watch a lot more Jordan Poole now. I wasn't watching
Everybody gets to watch more Jordan Poole now.
Jordan Poole came back to the NBA. Yeah. This will be his resurgence in the NBA. Even if he plays exactly as he played in Washington, people will now be able to view him play NBA basketball once again.
He's finally going to be on TV again.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, and the one I don't want to gas the Pelicans up because realistically the Pelicans aren't the city on the top of the hill, golden model, gold standard of NBA franchises or NBA teams. They've got their own dysfunction. But that being said, the Pelicans can still be as mediocre as they are and be way better than the Wizards. So that that is what I'm kind of again, it's not like Jordan Poole is going into a good situation, but he's getting out of a bad one, which I think makes me excited. Jordan Poole is always going to have a fan for life right here. So I'm rooting for Jordan Poole in New Orleans.
100%. And another player who moved on this offseason has a lot of fans for life. I'd say fans from his high school career even, and that would be Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball in the family. Surprisingly, Lonzo Ball has been out of the spotlight. And actually, not surprisingly, it's been because he hasn't played basketball in 2.5 years. But he came back at the end of this season, and he's moving to the Cavs. The Lonzo Ball traded to the Cavs for Isaac Okoro, and I think there was a draft selection as well that got moved on there. I'm not sure what it actually was, but it's a new scene for Lonzo Ball. This is his third team, if I'm correct. Fourth team. What team am I missing?
L.A., New Orleans, Chicago.
New Orleans. That's the team that I'm missing. That's when he actually improved. So the Cavs get Lonzo Ball, which I think it's a good move for them. The question is Lonzo Ball as good as he once was? What is this version of Lonzo Ball like? And is he good enough to be a defensive stopper, which is probably what they want him to be, a perimeter defensive player?
When Darius Garland gets hurt in the playoffs, can Lonzo Ball step in? I think what this means for Cleveland is Ty Jerome is not coming back, who is a pending free agent.
Had a great season.
Yeah, also had a great season. Although his playoffs, I think after the great regular season he had, his playoffs were a little bit underwhelming. That might have factored into the decision that Cleveland's front office made. Who knows? But I think either they felt like they couldn't afford to bring back Ty Jerome, so they got Lonzo Ball, or they decided they didn't want to bring back Ty Jerome, so they went out and got Lonzo Ball.
Yeah, and I think that from a base level standpoint, obviously this one season of Ty Jerome's career was great, and I think that he tripled his total scoring, and he kind of was a player that we never saw him as. We saw him on the Warriors, and he improved significantly on the Cavs this year. But is that just one season that he had in a good situation? Maybe,
Yeah.
I didn't watch every single cat. We can talk to Anton about that. Obviously, he doesn't think that because he's only seen, elite versions of him. But Lonzo Ball has been great, so you're kind of moving towards a
I'd rather have
more
Lonzo
sure-
Ball at his best than Ty Jerome at his best.
Definitely, 100%. I'd rather have Lonzo Ball at his best. But are we going to get Lonzo Ball at his best? We will see. And it'll be fun to see Lonzo Ball in a Cavs jersey. I think that'll be new and very different. Some other some big moves this offseason. And there has been some more big moves. I don't know if we wanted to talk about Desmond Bane getting traded.
That actually is a big one.
That is a big one.
For two quality role players and 4 first-round picks. Desmond Bane fetched more first-round picks than Luka Doncic and Kevin Durant combined.
I mean, I think it says
the world we live in.
I think it says something about the Luka trade personally, because
that it was bad.
I mean, obviously it was bad, but what I think it says is that the league and the market, what it costs for a good player has kind of, they're not taking into account the Luka trade. I kind of thought, and this is what we were talking about with Giannis, right? What is the price for Giannis? Well, what's the last Giannis level player to get traded? Luka Doncic. What was the price for Luka Doncic? Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick.
Right, yeah.
So, seeing Desmond Bane go for 4 first-round picks, to me that
and Cole Anthony and KCP, who
that's
are
good players,
quality basketball players,
that are probably, I don't know if Cole Anthony's worth a first-round pick, but KCP is at least worth a first-round pick, I think.
I think he was maybe a year or two ago. I don't think he had a great season. I mean, granted, I didn't watch very much Orlando basketball this year, and I'm not apologizing for that. But from the once in a blue moon, I would wander into the Orlando Magic neck of the woods on the internet. It seemed like KCP did not exactly win over the Magic fans with his performances like he did in Denver.
Well, they're selling low on him right now, I would say, and they paid a lot for Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane obviously is a better version of KCP. He's going to play hard defense. Desmond Bane is like a killer from the three-point line.
Yeah.
Every time you watch Desmond Bane play, it's like, fuck, dude, this guy does not miss. I think he shoots 42% or something from beyond the arc, and he's just a great player. So I think the team, the Magic are actually going to get better probably, but they did lose all their draft capital, so they're kind of betting on themselves also excelling with, this is a big bet on themselves. And, the way that we saw the Magic at the end of last season, I was betting on the Magic hard going into this year. They seemed like they were an improving team that was young, and obviously this year they dealt with a lot of injuries. So that's tough. It's tough for the development of a young team like that.
Yeah. Well, I think another big problem the Magic had, their shooting was really, really bad last year. And because of that, they couldn't space the floor at all. And Paolo and Franz couldn't get any good looks because none of the other guys on the floor were threats to help spread the defense. So I think Desmond Bane gives you a guy who, A, can shoot and can score, and B, he's going to help you space the floor and get way better looks for Paolo and Franz and get them help that they needed and didn't get last year. Yeah,
and I completely agree with that. I think that their biggest problem was that they would go huge stretches without being able to hit a three, and you can sag off players on the 3-point line, which is not something you can really do in the NBA except for if you're playing the Magic. We saw the Warriors, play some tough games against them, despite the fact that they were missing every fucking shot that they were taking. But back to the conversation about the market and what the NBA, is paying for star level players. If we see Desmond Bane go for 4 first-round picks and 2 solid role players, what is Giannis worth?
Right, yeah. Well, no, and you are only allowed to trade up to 5 first-round picks.
I would say Giannis is worth Desmond Bane and 4 first-round picks.
Yeah, exactly. I think Giannis is worth 5 first-round picks and any number of role players, or 4 first-round picks and an all-star or borderline all-star caliber player.
Yeah, that's probably right. And we can get into what we wanted to talk about with the Warriors now. And
well, before that, two more things to touch up on. One, Colin Sexton and Yusuf Nurkic have swapped completely irrelevant franchises. Nurkic is now a proud member of the Jazz. Sexton's now a proud member of the Hornets. And I think that's all that needs to be said about that, because both of those teams are finishing in the bottom 3 of their conference next year. This one's big, though. This one's very big. A.J. Mitchell had his team option declined today so he could sign a 3-year, $9 million extension with the NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. Congratulations, A.J. Mitchell. You have a guaranteed NBA contract.
Dude, $9 million. Like, what the fuck,
I know.
bro? Like,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's way more money than I'm making.
That's a ton of money. And, what does this mean about A.J. Mitchell? I think it's, like, hugely positive.
Yes.
It means that the Thunder are going to invest into his development for the next 3 years. Obviously, they signed him to this contract. They did not have to do this. This is not something that they had.
They could have just picked up his team option.
They could have picked up his team option for the next year and kind of saw how he played the next year, but they were more concerned that, he would eventually hit free agency,
outplay his current deal,
and then be worth a lot more than he's getting currently paid at $9 million. So this is the Thunder saying in 3 years, in his third year, they think that A.J. Mitchell is going to be worth more than his current contract if they're making that bet. So if A.J. Mitchell is worth more than $3 or $4 million per year, that means he's probably a real contributor in the NBA. So the Thunder think he can be a real contributor. They want him to be a contributor on their team. And by the way, they're a pretty damn good team.
Right.
So they could, we could see A.J. Mitchell being a significant player
right.
on a high caliber team at least for the next 2 years. That's, I think next year he probably still stays in that role of like, the second or third guy that's coming in, off the bench for Shea. And that means 8 or 9 minutes a game, probably.
I think he got like 16 minutes a game last year.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually a lot. I don't know if that's... Yeah. If he could get up to 16 minutes a game, then that's significant time playing on a very, very good team.
Right.
That would be like, hey, bro, you're a real NBA player. You are worth your contract, I would say. So this is really big for UCSB alumni.
Right.
I think
great day for the Gauchos.
Unfortunately, he might be the best player from UCSB in the NBA right now.
Yeah. Last year, A.J. Mitchell got 16.6 minutes a game.
That's pretty good.
Get this. He shot 49.5% from the floor, 38% from 3, 83% from the stripe.
That's great. And 6.5 rebounds a game?
No, that's
points per game. Oh, never mind. 6.5 points per game. But that's still great efficiency, especially for a rookie.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of, his efficiency and his per 36 stats are very, very strong. Granted, he's gets to play for a great team. But, A.J. Mitchell, I think he did about as well as you could ask in the role that he was given in the situation that he was put in. And I think the Thunder saw that and recognized it and know what they have in A.J. Mitchell. I know what the Thunder have in A.J. Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the Thunder know it too. And I think this contract means that they see a future where he's a big player. I think, obviously, as long as SGA is on that team, that's SGA's team, and he's going to be the one guard. But I think both, and again, I'm getting way ahead of myself. But I think there's a world where you can have SGA and A.J. Mitchell on the floor at the same time. And when they're not on the floor at the same time, I think A.J. Mitchell can progress into that, kind of not necessarily play style role, but just at least as far as minutes go, he can get the same kind of minutes as Cason Wallace or Aaron Wiggins or Alex Caruso or who's that other one?
Yeah, be one of those contributors, be one of those role players, one of those guys who are so important to this team. They definitely were very, very important to the championship run this year. So congratulations, A.J. Mitchell. Big shout out to you. And shout out to the UCSB Gauchos and any future Gauchos who are watching and are deciding.
Isaiah Joe. That's the other guy.
Joe.
Yeah.
If you're deciding, where do I go to college? Do I go to UC Irvine? Do I go to UC San Diego, a new college?
Roll with the
Chos.
Chos.
Go with the Chos.
Roll with the Chos.
Roll with the Chos.
Yeah, no. Congratulations, A.J. Mitchell. And congratulations for the Thunder because they've got themselves a gem and they made the right move to lock him down.
That's right. Well, now it is time, as in every Unentitled Sports episode, I would say maybe 90 or 80% of our episodes, we're going to talk about the Warriors and what this offseason could hold for the Warriors. I know that the Warriors said that they're actively pursuing trades. What does that mean?
Yeah,
it wasn't draft day trades.
I don't think there's a whole lot of the Warriors are receptive to making trades they think will better the franchise. Okay,
Cool.
great. Yeah, I should hope so.
So am I. I'm receptive to offers from...
The Warriors are interested in getting better.
Yes.
All right. Let's go.
And
Which, not every NBA team can say that. Which is,
No,
and I'm glad we root for a team that can.
It's definitely true. The Warriors are still all in. They want to win a championship next year. They have aging star-level players, and they got to find the right guys to put around them so they can maximize those players for a potential championship run next year, at least a deep playoff run next year. And the Warriors have a lot of decisions to make. Namely, that would be Jonathan Kuminga. And what does that mean this offseason? From everything that I've seen, I want to hear what you are predicting. From everything that I've seen, it feels like Jonathan Kuminga leaving is kind of bound to happen. Yeah. He kind of understands that it is bound to happen. The ownership and Steve Kerr is kind of saying, like, hey, if we keep him, great. We're going to do the best that we can to have him and Jimmy Butler, mesh together. But they're not explicitly saying it, but they're definitely kind of like hinting at, like, hey, yeah, he's probably not going to be.
Yeah, we're not committed to keeping him at all costs. Yeah. Well, so this is a little bit of the knowledge I have on the situation. I think Joe Lacob likes Jonathan Kuminga more than Kerr and Dunleavy do. That's not to say Kerr and Dunleavy don't like Kuminga, but Joe Lacob really does. So that I think that is something to bear in mind, because I think that's going to be something that influences what ends up happening at the end of the day. But here's the situation with Kuminga. He's a restricted free agent, and Kuminga's probably not even going to look at any offer that the Warriors send him, if the Warriors even send him one. And to be honest, like the way that the cards have been dealt, I don't think it makes sense for the Warriors to preemptively or proactively send an offer to Kuminga, because I don't think Kuminga is going to want whatever offer the Warriors have to send, and I don't think the Warriors want to set the market. I think they want to have other teams set the market and then see how much that is, because what's likely going to happen is, what is going to happen is Kuminga's going to agree to a deal with another team, and then the Warriors are going to decide if they want to match it. And if they match it, they can keep him, and he can be a Warriors player for the next how many ever years, or the Warriors can then trade him. The difficulty with a sign and trade, and again, I can't explain why, and I can't even guarantee that I'm regurgitating this information 100% correctly, but my understanding is that in a sign and trade, let's say Kuminga signs for $30 million a year, the outgoing value of his contract is only 50%, whereas the incoming value is 100%. So let's say, the Milwaukee Bucks sign and trade for Kuminga, and Kuminga has a $30 million salary. The Bucks have to allot $30 million of incoming salary, but the Warriors only get $15 million off their books. So that would make a sign and trade kind of difficult.
Difficult, definitely. And, getting rid of that $15 million with the Warriors' cap situation of far over the luxury tax, been that way for a long time, $15 million towards our cap is actually more like $40 million.
Yeah.
So is it worth $40 million in luxury tax to get whatever you're going to get back for a sign and trade Jonathan Kuminga? I don't care about Joe Lacob's wallet.
It's worth it for me.
I want, if we can get back a first-round pick or something like that, yes, I would rather have the first-round pick than have Joe Lacob have $40 more million. Although I do love Joe Lacob, and I think he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
but
Joe Lacob, please spend more money on the Warriors, please. Just another $100 million in tax, bro. Please, I promise I won't ask again. Please, Joe Lacob, please.
I will continue to ask Joe Lacob to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the Warriors.
Wasn't
roster.
there like a Bernie Sanders meme where he's like,
I am once again asking for your financial support.
Yes.
This is me literally
Warriors fans every year
to the owner that spends by far the most money on his team. We are currently asking you to spend more money for the Warriors to be able to win.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's a good investment.
Right.
It's always worked out in the past for your bottom line. The Warriors are worth $10 billion. I'm sure they're probably on the same level as the Lakers.
Right.
So keep spending money. Let's get that first-round pick. Let's get whatever we can get back for Jonathan Kuminga, and we don't want to keep him on the team anymore. We don't want that. So let's sign and trade him.
Let's talk about that.
I'll talk about it right now.
All right.
As long as we have Jimmy Butler on the team, Jonathan Kuminga is not a viable option, I think. Jonathan Kuminga and Jimmy Butler minutes are horrible together. We've seen that happen in the playoffs. Neither of those guys can shoot the three.
Granted, all those minutes came without Steph on the floor.
Yes, but if you have a lineup, okay, who else is going to play in this lineup? You have Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Jonathan Kuminga. Who's the center? Draymond, who can't shoot also. So you have now 3 non-shooters, Steph Curry, and add in your best shooter, Moses Moody. How good is that lineup? Like, Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga on top of the Warriors' big 3 right now, I don't think that's good enough. I think you need some more shooting. It's just like you can triple team Steph Curry in that lineup. Like, the only thing you need to worry about with Moses Moody is a corner 3. So be aware and don't
Buddy
necessarily crash.
Buddy Hield in that lineup would dictate one defender. Because you can't, no matter how streaky Buddy Hield is, you still have to have one guy on him. Because if you leave Buddy Hield wide open, he'll hit his threes. So putting Buddy Hield in that lineup could help space the floor. And then Quentin Post, baby.
That's actually better. Realistically, if you did have Kuminga and Butler on the court at the same time, you would have to have Quentin Post because you want that stretch.
But that means no Draymond Green, which you're not going to build a lineup.
And how is your defense? You'd have to have a huge step up for Jonathan Kuminga in the defensive
side. He's not
side.
great defensively.
He's a solid isolation defensive, but he's not a switch guy. He's not going to make the team a better defensive team. It's like, okay, if he gets ISO'd, I think he can play. We've seen him play solid defense, and he's very athletic, but he's not the guy that's going to switch onto the roller and block the shot off the backboard. We haven't seen that happen very often. I think the defense significantly struggles, and the offense also does too. Like, Jonathan Kuminga's best offensive, when he's playing his best offensively, he's playing the same role as Jimmy Butler when he's playing his best offensively, which is all right, cutting, getting getting to the line, definitely, and playing ISO, hezzy pull-up Jimbo basketball, back to the basket and turn around and shoot that thing.
I think the style that gets the best out of that brings the best out of Jonathan Kuminga is very much not the style that the Warriors play. And I think Steve Kerr, even if you won't admit it, I think Steve Kerr would probably agree with that. And I've a lot of what I've seen from Jonathan Kuminga is he's a little bit of a ball stopper and he's a little bit of a black hole on offense. Because if you're running your offense around Jonathan Kuminga, you're not getting the most out of the other 4 guys on the floor because it's just give Jonathan Kuminga the ball and let him go. And when you have teammates when your teammates are Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, it's that's not that's not the offense you want. Right. That's not the offense you want to run.
I think it works with Steph Curry because Steph Curry can't be the main guy in every possession. Steph Curry's 37 years old.
And he's going to get triple teamed if he is.
Yeah, so I like that. Jonathan Kuminga and Steph Curry on the court at the same time. I've been fine with that lineup. But now that you have Jimmy Butler, it doesn't make any sense. It's Jimmy Butler's a better version of Jonathan Kuminga. Yeah. We'd rather have him on the court because he does so many of the little things better than Jonathan Kuminga does.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kuminga doesn't do any of those little things that Jimmy Butler
does. Right, well, and Jimmy Butler gets his teammates more involved. He gets them to play better. Whereas Kuminga, I feel like Kuminga's just kind of a black hole in offense. And, a Kuminga-based offense, it just, it completely shuts his teammates down. I don't think Kuminga plays very team-oriented basketball.
I completely agree. He's a very isolation-based player. He's good when you pass him the ball and he's running. He's not good at passing. He's not a good passer. He doesn't do other little things you don't find Kuminga fighting for rebounds as often as you'd like.
Yeah.
I think he has potential to get there, but right now that's not him.
Right.
And
no, I think Kuminga's a good player. I just don't think his best fit is on the Warriors, and that it kind of sucks to say, but that's okay. That's life. I think Kuminga's a good basketball player, and I would like him to stay on the Warriors because I think he offers something that not a lot of other Warriors offer. But if I want what's best for Jonathan Kuminga, I think it's okay to admit that that's not the Warriors. Because I think Kuminga is a very good and talented basketball player. I think there is a fit for him out there, but I don't think that fit is the. I I don't think that fit is the Warriors, and it's like there's been 4 years of him not really fitting to sort of back me up because again, I think he's a good player, but his fit isn't with the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors can get the best out of him, and I don't think he can give his best to the Warriors. And that's just kind of that, So it's like, obviously I don't want to lose him for free. I don't want to overpay for him either. I think the best outcome for all parties involved would be a sign and trade, but for those weird salary retention reasons, that would make it harder. So it is kind of a head scratcher of what the Warriors should do with Jonathan Kuminga roster wise, because basketball wise, it's hard to get him to fit. I know I'm starting to repeat myself or spin in circles a little bit, but just watching him, I'm trying to find the perfect way to word this. Watching him play when you're watching him, he's on the floor and it's offensive possessions being run through Kuminga. It just doesn't involve any of his teammates at all. And where it's like
it's just not good basketball.
Yeah, whereas Warriors basketball,
it's not championship basketball.
Yeah, when Warriors basketball, like all 5 guys on offense are involved, they all play a role. Whereas Kuminga offense, like there's really nothing for the other guys to do other than just stand there.
Yeah,
and like if you're gonna run that offense, like you don't want Kuminga is not good enough to run a Kuminga offense and have you win playoff series.
I completely agree. So obviously that's a big thing coming up this offseason, and we'll see what the Warriors decide to do with that. Other moves that the Warriors might make or might not make, interesting. I saw again today that the Warriors are the front runner to get Giannis Antetokounmpo if he decides to leave.
Yeah.
The Bucks.
It's like how would I've sort of been saying from the start the Warriors are not going to go big game hunting this offseason. And when I started saying that meant Kevin Durant too. Now, very obviously, the Warriors are out for Kevin Durant. Giannis, if he requests a trade, is still up for grabs. I just don't think the Warriors can pull Giannis off because it's simple if you think about it. They don't have the salary cap for him because they've committed to Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. And in order to bring Giannis onto the team, they would have to trade away Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green or Steph Curry. And now, very obviously, Steph Curry's not going anywhere. I don't think the Warriors are going to trade Draymond Green either, just because he's earned the right to be a Warrior for as long as he wants to be a Warrior. He was a part of that big 3 that won 4 championships, and he's given his whole career to the Warriors, and I don't think the Warriors are an organization that would trade him after everything he's achieved and accomplished for them. I think the Warriors. I think the Warriors would trade Jimmy Butler for Giannis, but I don't think the Bucks would trade Giannis for Jimmy Butler.
It would just be a salary match.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like. So obviously, like the Warriors would have to give up a ton more in addition to Jimmy Butler. And it's like, you look at the Warriors, like and we sort of talked about this before. It's like at the end of the day, like if the Warriors just aren't that good, they aren't that good, and what can they really do about it? Because it's like, what do the Warriors have to offer? Like, what can the Warriors trade for Giannis? What can the Warriors give to the Bucks for Giannis? Like. If they don't have enough to get Giannis, they're not getting Giannis.
I mean, I don't know what team does have enough to get Giannis, but the Warriors package, it can't be the best in the NBA. I mean, I can only see the only way it happens, and I think we mentioned this before, but what happens if Giannis only wants to go to the Warriors? That's like if he's like trade me to the Warriors, then our package of Kuminga, Podziemski, Moody, and
exactly.
Whatever.
I mean, it would probably be. Like
Kuminga,
it'd be Kuminga. It'd be Butler, Kuminga, Podziemski, Moody, and as much draft picks.
However many first round picks.
How many ever draft picks we're allowed to trade.
That's probably right, and that's very unlikely. So don't get your hopes up for the Dubs offseason. I think outside of that, the team might stay pretty similar, and I'm kind of okay with that. Well,
notice like this team was actually really good when they were healthy last year. You look at the record. When Steph and Jimmy were both healthy, that was a great basketball team, and I think
surprisingly great.
And I think this Warriors team actually believes in itself. That with a full offseason and a full season of playing together, I think the Warriors have the self-belief and the self-confidence that they can continue playing as well as they did in the half season when they stayed healthy. And I think the one silver lining for Kuminga potentially working his way back in with Jimmy Butler is, by the time when the Warriors traded for Butler, Kuminga was hurt. And then by the time Kuminga was healthy, there was a week left in the season, and every game was a must-win game. So there wasn't really an opportunity for Kuminga to learn how to play in and fit in that lineup. If they do bring Kuminga back, there's a full offseason for them to figure that out. And I think, if the Warriors bring Kuminga back, he's not going to be racking up DNPs like he did at the end of the season. If they bring Kuminga back, they are going to make an effort to figure it out and, fit him in with, Steph and Jimmy. And I have reason to believe that they'll be more successful than they were, in the last months of this past season. But yeah, I mean, like I've been saying with Kuminga, it just kind of seems like when he plays his offense, like everyone else just kind of shuts down, and that's not what the Warriors do. So I don't know how the Warriors can get the best out of Kuminga while still playing Warriors basketball. Yeah,
and I don't think they can do it. Personally, I don't think they can do it. I'm in the pro move on from Kuminga camp, and I think that trying to figure it out with Kuminga is probably less likely to work out than just moving on from him would be.
Yeah, I think Kuminga has earned the right to want to leave, and I think he does want to leave, and I think it's okay that he wants to leave.
Hell yeah. Very true. So true, Ryan. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
So let's move on. We do have a couple more topics that we want to talk about in this podcast episode. One being the San Francisco Giants, and this is some bad news, I'd say.
Yeah, are we introducing the panic meter to the Giants?
Yes, I think that the panic meter has to come out.
Welcome back, panic meter.